お願いします。Okay, we'll just start a little bit of loose vertical. Everything come up.
Geht das nicht richtig? Ich glaube, ich muss mal das Bild wegschalten.
A little bit with the arms, just kind of swinging them. Also feel like these motions you can kind of do like as if you're kind of reaching up for something. So like stretching right up, draw the body up, fingers, everything. You can also do one side. You can try and touch the ceiling or the cloud. Play with lengthening the body. Okay, good. Okay, let's do the front and back. I'm trying to shift the movement down a little bit to the chest. Actually, chest is wrong, like the center of the chest. So not the front of the body, but right at the center of the body. So imagine it's more like somewhere between the chest and the shoulder blades, where the shoulder blades meet, or where the shoulder blades cross over. Play over the here. And just watch the neck now. You can play with this kind of mobility, but just watch that I don't get into kind of like a kind of whiplash with the body. So try and like really bring the neck with the chest in this area. You can, if you're feeling a bit kind of stiff with it, play with the mobility. Ideally, just let the neck start to kind of lengthen and follow the body. Just try and include the head in the movement. And again, just play with the arms a little bit. Play with the feet as well. You come into a stance. These kind of motions with the arms. And play with also, in this case, really kind of curling the body back as well. You've got this kind of rounding. It's kind of opening out. Okay, good. Okay, going side to side. Really shifting it down again. You're really working this kind of bend. Right around the back as well. So, the body sway. So, that's it. And again, just playing with the arms. So you've got this whole line of movement, this kind of lateral line. Also includes the up and down, that way. And also play, in this case, also with like the elbows. So this. The key thing is letting the shoulders open up. I really feel that that movement can come from a really opened, expanded upper body. One side, play with both, that way, and that way. Good. Okay, going down to the hips, just coming to a rotation. And the first, you just really have the feet free, so let the hips, really give the hips full mobility or full opportunity to mobilize. Just let the whole body be dragged by the hip. And don't worry about being balanced and centered. Just let the hip kind of create the movement and just let the rest of the body follow it. You can think about these movements like a discus throw. The body's just going to get kind of sent out from that movement. Just let everything go with it. This is a great one to do in water. So if you can swim, this is a really great move to do in the water. Just try and twist the body around, turn the body around from the hip. Just get the whole movement generated from the hip. I'm just playing a little bit specifically just with the arms. So make it a little bit tighter now by bringing the feet down to the ground. And you're going to focus on the generation of you're going to focus on passing the movement from the hip to the hand now. So allow the connection to the ground to be more settled, basically. And then I can pass the movement to the hand more. I'm just playing a little bit with here. You can pass it wherever you like. You can pass it into both. But again, the key thing is really notice where the movement starts in this case, which is really going to be the hips. That's it. And again, don't be so concerned about centering, balancing, weight, all this kind of stuff. Just look at actually mobilizing the body. It's just about creating a kind of chain through the body. And at the moment, I'm not really concerned whether it's a heavy chain or it's a kind of really connected, tightly chain. Just that it is a chain. Good. Okay, then just come into the hips, pelvis. Go into this wave, closing down in the body. And just work your way into it, make it a little bit bigger each time, which is basically increasing the tilt in the pelvis. Here. Yeah, and then just let the hands kind of start to come towards the ground more. Start to bow the body back a little bit more. So you're kind of bending back, bending forwards. I really feel that the bend is going to be initiated in this whole region, especially the pelvis. Where it's going to go. And it's going to be supported by the knees. Really allow the movement to come from there. You can do one which might help in this case is just let the arms like they're kind of sticky on the legs and they can stay on the leg, but they can't come out of the leg. So just imagine they're kind of going to stick down the leg. They're going to kind of roll, soft contact. Then go front and back. And this is just a nice one. Sometimes this is like leg tracing, and sometimes we do this with the legs or just with the shoulders on the body. But in this case, it's just the arms tracing through the legs. And it's kind of any kind of freedom and mobility. I need to open this whole area up. So I can't really do this by being tight. I can't really go. So I've got to really let everything loosen to do it. Let the arms kind of roll around the thigh. And if you've got the flexibility, let them come down to the shins, the feet. And I feel that they can leave the feet, go to the ground, and then they've got to come back by the toes. So they can leave from the toes, go into the ground, but let them kind of come up and down from the ground. And this really forced me to minimize the work of the upper body because they've got to really follow the spine, the hips, and the pelvis. Yeah, that's it. That's it, good. Okay, good. Okay, you can do the opposite as well. So when you come back, gonna go up with it. So the arm's gonna follow the body. They're gonna kind of trace up the ribs, up, all the way up, and let them just come around. They're gonna pass around the body. They can come up. You can let this go, but they can only leave. They can leave from the top of the spine, from the top of the head. So the fingertips to the top of the spine, and then stretch them up. And then they've got to come back down that way. So back onto the top of the skull, all the way down the spine. You feel a bony little ball in the back of your neck. Down, cross through the back of the shoulder blades, and this is the tricky part, how to wrap them around. Back, and then just let them go again. So just let the arms kind of come up and down the body, tracing. But they can only leave from the top of the head or the tip of the toes. That's the only place they can lose contact with the body. So just like rolling around. And just notice one area might feel quite tight, especially around the shoulders. For me, it's the knees. When I get to around the shins, pretty tight. Just kind of feel, if you don't feel tightness anywhere, great. Just play with it. And also just notice one side might be tight and one side might not be. So you might have a tight right shoulder. Everything else is fine, but just play with it.
Michael, why are we doing this again? Is it just to loosen everything, or is it?
It's to stop you using your arms so much.
Okay.
Basically, because if I do all this kind of work, I just do it with the arms. But if I do this kind of work, it really forces me to use the shoulder correctly. So I can't really do this kind of work, really tighten the shoulders. It won't really go, so I need to loosen the shoulder to do it. So this is an exercise to get into, or to get me, to get you, to get us to loosen a little bit more the shoulder. And also the hips, but mostly for the arms. That's it. Okay, good. And then we just come into these swings. So let the arms now follow the body. They're going to always be off the body now. But again, the key is that the arms don't do the movement. So let the arms be included. They're going to extend out, just drop down through it, but really feel that they're connecting to the body. So this is much more about the shoulders than the hands and the elbows. So don't put really don't put so much attention into the hands, the elbows. Just feel the shoulder joint. It's now about connecting functionally to the spine and the hips and the ground. But that connection is done by the shoulder. Now, the moment I block the shoulder and create the movement with it, that's when I'm using it in a not so functional way. So just play a little bit with this, opening the shoulder up a little bit. And just imagine like the shoulder's a gate and it needs to constantly be open. Unless I'm kind of impacting, then I need to fix it in place when I do it. But in this case, there's no impact. So just get a sense the shoulder's totally open. And it just allows you to pass the movement of the hip to the arm.
Michael.
Yeah, hello.
What do you mean when you say open shoulder?
I mean the shoulder's like a gate. So watch this. If I have a really creaky gate that's not been oiled, it looks like this. And then I do this with it. So by open shoulder, I mean that there's space in the joint. So it's released. And then it can basically swing through. So by open, I mean release, not holding the shoulder. Does that make sense? Hopefully. That's the same with the knees as well. So the knees need to be open, which means they're kind of released. They're not held in tension. And that tension's activity. It's not about movement. It's like a thing I do, which is like to hold the shoulder. And I can do that in any position. But it's basically like holding the joint. But in this case, just let it
Thank you.
Got it? That's it. That's it. Okay, dude. Just try this also, so you can do just one side as well. Now the key with this is starting to look at balance and really including the body in it. Just watch this. If I do things like this, so there's a tendency normally for most of us to go one way with the body. So we kind of do something like this or like that, or more to the front. So just feel like in this case, you can just do the same thing every time, but you're only going to drop one arm at a time. But the spine's going to do the same thing. Now, because the movement's not coming from the arm, the body it will tend not to unbalance. You'll still get a little bit of unbalancing. It's just natural, but try and get a sense that you can just drop down. That's it. So sometimes do one arm, sometimes do both, and sometimes do none. But the body work's always the same. Dum, 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 dum. So So you just kind of roll through it. It's always the same, but the body work's always the kind of essential thing. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Yeah, that's it. There we go. Good. Yeah. Go. There we go. Okay, good. And we go to the second one. So just working really for the hips now. So just the first one, just get a sense, you're a bit like a scarecrow. So imagine you're kind of boneless. So you've got the arms are kind of held up like this, but imagine there's something like holding them here. So it's like the arms are a bit like this. It's not like this in this case. So imagine the arms are really like heavy, but just being like held up by something else. And then what I want you to feel is just that you can shift the hip. So you can just motivate the hip. This. Now you'll feel, if I kind of connect this and I keep the shoulder open, it will start to pass into the arm anyway. So you'll get an action come out into the hand. Well, this side's not working today. That one. Just play with the hip. Again, the main thing is just motivate the hip. Motivate the hip. And then what I want you to do is just start to do this. So you're going to do like this with the body. So you're going to spiral that movement. So it's a different movement than just this. What you're actually doing is like that. So you're kind of coiling the body down. So the hips are doing something like this. If I really exaggerate it, this. And then what that means is that the arm's going to go with it. Go with it. Go with it. And just play again. Play with the feet. You don't have to have the feet solidly down. So just feel that you can also go with it. So you'll create a kind of width change through the move. So it's the same but a bit looser. Normally this is done really slow and it's done with the feet kind of glued to the ground like this, but just play with it. And the key thing is making a change where I can, again, motivate the body from the hip. And again, just feel where the movement feels better coming from. That's basically the main thing. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it, John. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. There we go. Just like that. Good. Yeah. Yeah, the problem with these kind of exercises, they become really repetitious very quickly because they're very simple. So I get into like, so the body gets like, I got it. I already know it. So I got it and I just keep going with it. Now the point of these exercises is to loosen more, to like relax more, to be more grounded. Now in order to do that, I need to do them like really consciously. So, and for me, that also means really playing with the exercise and breaking it down. So really feel that you can really play with it. If I do the same thing every time, that's fine. That's fine for like getting the movement, getting the coordination for it. But as soon as I've got the movement, I want to start kind of playing with it as well. Now that doesn't mean breaking the rules. So I'm not going to break the rule of the exercise, which is about a rotation in the hip, spiraling down. But I'm going to do everything I can to kind of play with it. So play a little bit with the hand as well. There's lots of things you can play with. Send the hand different places, make it a bit more flexible. Start the arms from this position. Let the feet go. Work with the feet, stepping. So you can do all these kind of things, but really just play with it. The key point of the technique is it teaches a very clear blueprint of how to move the body. And once you kind of get it in that sense, it's not so much about repeating, but it's about making it deeper, making the connections deeper. Yeah, that's it. And for me, it's about asking questions like, how do I move the arm? What is my arm? Where is it connected to? What is my connection to the ground? What part of the foot am I connecting to the ground when I go into the full swing? So those kind of questions are really important. So they're part of the kind of, what I mean by being more conscious about it is actually just questioning, what am I actually doing when I do it? Yeah. That's it. Got it. That's it. That's it. Good. Okay, good. This one, it's for the shoulders. So just start, in this case, you're going to go from the side like this. Now you've got a different kind of hip movement in that. So you've got, this is really much more like this movement before, but it's got a kind of stretchiness. So you've got the front hip and the back hip coming out. So rather than like coiling corkscrewing, you've got them like doing this kind of motion, this. So what you do with that is like draw the hand and the hip. So just play with like, what I want to feel is that as they get to this position, the hips draw the hands apart. Hips draw the hands. That's as if there's something in the hip drawing the arm out. So just work with this a little bit slow, just so you can get the feeling like that. And I can miss the hand with the hip. So I just misses it. No, 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 no. There. So this is a tricky one because it's something between both hips. They're both like, one's coming, in our sense, one's coming forward and one's coming back. And the hand's going to do the same. One goes forward, one goes back. Now I can do this athletically by moving the arm with the hip. But I just lock them together. That's so, again, this is okay. It's just one way to get into the exercise. But if I can really get a sense that the hip is drawing the hand out, even if I can get like a millimeter of movement, that's enough to work with. Because I can do athletically for 20 years and I'll just get better at doing athletically. And eventually those connections, the strength, everything will go. And I'll be left with just connection work in the end. So I'd rather work connection work right from the beginning. There we go, there. There. The problem with this kind of connection work, it feels very weak. Feels totally weak, feels a bit useless. Feels like I can't put power behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just what it is. It's just how it is. That's it, good, everything. Yeah. That's it, exactly. Got it. You want to feel a little, I feel a little bit like a kind of gunslinger. So you've got the two holster, you've got the holster and you've got the two pistols. Now I need, if I'm a good gunslinger, I can't do like this with the arm. I need to do something like that. So it needs to be an action that comes from the hip. This is a shoot from the hip, but it's got this kind of quality. So this is true with all the kind of ski work we do, this kind of work, and also like 𝒊𝒏𝒕 work, 𝒂𝒄𝒒𝒐𝒗 work. It's all going to like draw from the hip. Draw from the hip, draw from the hip. So this is really practical way to use the body. And it's a very, very efficient way to use the body. But it needs something which is like there, there. And then just work with both. And you're going to really, the key thing for us is not to emphasize only the front, but it's to really get now the back. The back. So you're going to kind of really balance the body out there. And then once you've got it, just feel as it swings through, you can catch it again. And the main thing is that as soon as I feel like I'm carrying the arm's operating separately, just drop it back down again, and then just find it again. It's actually very easy to find, but I need to let the arm follow the hip. And for me, this is a very easy one to go into forward, to just kind of get dragged forward with. But imagine you're really opening the back as well. And this exercise, for me, specifically for the shoulders, so it's to open really the shoulders front and back. There. That's it. That's it. Got it. Okay. Okay, just watch what this is something that comes up a bit bigger when we go into bigger movements, but just watch that I don't go into like leaking the body, which is like where the hips start to kind of come out of the structure. So that this kind of thing start to happen. Now, this is really for like a centering the body exercise. Get the feeling that all the time you're working this line. So the tailbone to the top of the head. Imagine that movement is just going to kind of rotate, but it's not going to kind of split away. So this is when you go into these kind of movements for this. That's okay when we're doing like something very active towards the front. You're going to kind of need a kind of counterweight. For this one, really get the sense that the body's just doing that. And this is actually the same exercise as this one. But what you're doing with the shoulders is something else. You're rolling the shoulders up. So just going out, you're going to go to the top of the head. And this really requires me to be centered in the body. So really feel like, again, top of the head to the tailbone is really your axis of movement. So you want to really channel that axis there. There. And especially noticing the spine, when it's going to start to kind of break off the axis, all these kind of movements, or even the neck, just kind of get a sense that you can lengthen the whole spine. And Just go with it, with the move. And this is really not only about centering, but finding the center line of the body. So where is the center line of the body and how can I utilize it really efficiently so that it doesn't feel like lots of effort every time I have to rotate the spine. That's that. Yeah, that's it. Good. So there's these 2 points. So there's this point where the arms are really connected into the hips, and there's this point where the hands are really connecting into the top of the head. So you can touch the top of the head, but also by connecting, I mean they're on the same line. So if I do this exercise like this, or they're in the front or in the back or somewhere here, I'm not getting back to the center of the body. So get a sense that when you do this, you're really reaching the center, right in the center of the body. And then once you've got that, that's really easy to just take into a full circle. This is like doing Shomanuchi. One, in a really big way. But it's got this kind of quality. Now I've got to draw the movement into the center. Draw to the center. The moment I'm doing these, or the hands are splitting, separating, this will just confuse the body. So I want to really let the body know it can work together and work in unison with the arms. You need to basically, this is all about training to let the arms not feel like they're in control of anything. So, but this is really tricky for us because it's one of the first kind of things we learn is to grab things with the arms, with the hands. It's a very powerful kind of instinct to grab and do things with the hands. Yeah, got it. Okay, take a BOKKEN. Okay, good. So the first one, we're just going to work on a vertical. So keep the feet down, and this is just to make it simpler. So it's not to kind of stick you down and create tension. It's just to make the movements really simpler. So just get a sense now you can work from this position. You're going to work from here, right through the center of the spine. And then you're just going to take with one hand, let it arc away. Take with one hand, let it arc away. Just watch your floor. You don't want to hit the ground. But just get a sense that you can just let the sword go through an arc. One side. One side. But every time you're going to just draw it back to the center line. So it's right in the center of the body. It's going to like split the body into right between the eyes. And then just let it go. It's going to fall down naturally to one side. Because I just let one hand take it over. And if that hand's releasing, like you've done before this, it will just go to the side of the body. So I don't even need to think about it. It just goes. Just goes. And just feel every time you're going to align it right to the spine. It's a really simple exercise, but again, it's just about getting that arms not to dominate. Just let them go. I want the arms to feel weak, a little bit weak. That's it. That's it. Got it. That's it. Okay, do the same thing just now with both. So you get to the center line, let it go. Center line, let it go. Now just notice this is about really like Shomanuchi works straight through the body. So you're gonna go there, there. And just notice this is a tricky position because of the grip's asymmetrical. The right hand's in front of the left. The tendency is for the right to try and compensate for that, or the shoulder to try and compensate for it. But just get a sense that you can really release it. And if you want, play with the hands so that you can even have them like touching. You can have them just one in front of the other, very close. I just want to feel the body can just drain down. Just let the sword go and just align the body to it. That's it, something like that. That's it. Okay. So I think we've got the inverse relationship a lot of the time in Aikido. We spend a lot of effort on pulling the sword down and hardly any on drawing it up. But actually, if you think about it, the harder action is drawing the sword up, lifting the sword up, or raising the sword, because the drop's actually very easy. The drop's it just drops anyway. So the setup to do that is actually the difficult part. So just get a sense now as you go here, you can also put the sword in the ground, a little bit like you're going to play golf, but you're going to go here and just imagine that I can lift the sword up like this. It's very light, but I can lift it up with the arms. Or I can get a sense that I reach underneath it with the ground, with the hips, and then draw it up. Draw it up with the body. Draw it up with the body. And just imagine it's really heavy. I can do that. It's going to take a lot of strength. Or I can just get a sense that it's going to raise up from the body, from the ground. Just get a sense of how difficult the raise is, because it's a really tricky action actually. We tend to mask it with strength and speed to get over the fact that it's quite difficult, but it's actually one of the more difficult things we've got. And I really need like a deep connection to the ground. So my feeling has got to go beyond my body. It's got to go right into the ground in order for this to have any kind of anchor. Imagine the body's got an anchor. So you've got a big chain hanging down, you've got a big heavy anchor, and it's deep, deep, deep in the ground. And you're going to use that stability to raise it up. There you go. Got it. Yeah, that's it. Okay, good. Now, it's not that the lowering the sword is very difficult, or the dropping the sword is very difficult. It's that I unstabilize myself as I do it. So just watch this now. If I can get this, and then as I go down, I lose it. So I get into these unstable positions. Now it's really impossible to use the ground to do it. So when I do things like this in the BOKKEN, it's impossible to get the sword, the hips underneath it, because I've locked the structure on top. And then I'm leaning on the sword on the top, so I need to pull it up with the arm to do it. So just get a sense that as you do this now, you're gonna not lose the anchor in the ground. So as you drop the sword down, the anchor stays. So as you draw up, the anchor stays down. It doesn't pull up and it doesn't push down. So it's not like this kind of action. It's much more down, down. So again, it's the raise that's actually tricky, but I need the cut down, the drop down to be really stable. I need to be hitting the right place to be able to get the ground. The ground here. So just work through a full cut now, going right to the back, dropping it down. Yeah. Yeah, and also sometimes just go to one side as well, so you can also just drop it through one-sided. The body does the same thing again. It's like when we did the swings. You can drop one side, you can drop both, you can drop none. But the body's always going to do the same thing. Yeah. That's it. Good. And then just placing the sword. So you're just going to come down. The body does exactly the same thing again. So you're going to just place it down. So you're not putting any power in it. I'm just trying to find a perpendicular level with the sword. So it's just going to feel like, boom, hits the ground like this. So it just stops. And the feeling is like catching it in the hip. So you're going to go here. Just draw the sword down. Or place it. I prefer draw the sword, but place it. Place it. And you're basically just placing it on the center line. And again, keeping the same sense of heaviness underneath. And raising from the ground. So I want to be as the sword to be as undisturbed as possible as it drops. Here we go. That's it. There we go. That's it. Okay, just watch one specific area, which is the neck and the eyes, basically. So mostly it's in the neck, but this will affect where I look when you do this. So just watch this. There's a tendency. I use the camera like this. There's a tendency to start to twist the head out with it, and then find this kind of position. Now, anything I do like that from this position, because it's square on, will automatically draw the whole body out. And especially notice the neck. So what I don't want to do is like something like crunching the neck here and throwing the neck out. So this kind of whiplash with the neck like this, doing this. What I want to all the time, go back to this feeling of like pressing the head. If you imagine you've got a headrest like in a car, imagine all the time you're just gently like pushing the head back into it. And that's going to always be that. The moment I do this, I'm really at risk as I push forward that I'm creating space, too much space, which is basically going to give me a kind of whiplash kind of movement. Now that movement will pass down into the spine and create kind of tension automatically. So just get a sense of when you're here in this position, just gently drawing back against the head, and then I maintain it as it goes. And that keeps the result that it keeps the shoulder blades open, that it keeps the chest open, and it allows me to really breathe through the movement. The moment I do that, it's going to create a kind of block in the system. So just notice. And actually this whole chest area and the neck, this is where I'll look for movement from someone who's going to attack me. So normally the eyes kind of rest, or what we kind of suggest is like, if I'm watching someone, I'm going to watch that area, because that tends to be the movement, that tends to be the area where activity will happen before an attack. You'll usually get something tensing, especially the eyes will start to dilate, you'll start to get stuff happening, but especially the neck, it will start to do something before. So this is like keeping this kind of quiet, and I want the body to be a bit like a kind of ghost in the movement. I want it to be really kind of quiet. I really feel like any kind of extra movements on this kind of level, later they're going to be really huge. So when I'm in a kind of tense state, an aggressive state, or a kind of protective state, like these kind of things, these movements are going to be really huge. Just get a sense of something really calm. And the best thing you can do for this is just put all your focus in the hips. Just focus on what the hips are doing. Let the rest of the body just fall in line with the hip. Forget about the head, forget about the neck. If there's major things going on, then focus on it, but let the hip go with it. That's it. Got it. Okay, coming now into the full focus, so you just drop to the back, press in. Keep the focus very light, but I just want the idea, all I'm introducing now is nothing else, just the catch. So it's just the kind of squeezing with the hands. So it's this is the same, this is the same, this is the same, and then just catch it out. So just squeezing the end of the movement, the last 1% of the movement. That's it. That's it, that's it, that's it. Good. So there's always a tendency in this to speed the movement up, so to add momentum into the cut. Don't add momentum. So in this case, just watch it. I go to now focusing, and I start to speed that movement up, and then that, because I think the momentum will add kind of power to it. It won't add any power. So just get the sense that you're gonna just keep that same motion. So it's still slow, but don't be tempted to kind of speed that up because that feels better. So just get a sense that you're gonna keep the same pace. So that pace, that pace, that pace. You'll actually find this more clearly if you do it slower, which is basically not about speed, it's just letting the sword drop through the arc by itself without kind of pushing it. As soon as I go to like adding momentum or trying to add power, it'll work, it will pull me out of the training. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. That's it, that's it. Just let the sword naturally fall. Dong, dong. I want gravity to do all the work, and I'm just going to go a line behind it. Ah, good. That's it, that's it, that's it, that's it, that's it. Good. Okay. So I find a nice metaphor for this kind of squeezing. It came from a karate teacher, and he said like squeezing peanut butter out of the hand. So if you imagine the fist has got full of peanut butter, and I want to squeeze the peanut butter so that it comes out this way, because I don't want it to spread all over. So I want to do something like that with it. So I imagine I've got the peanut butter and I squeeze it. We start here, and then I squeeze it out the top, right? So this is what we do with the sword. I want my energy to pass through to the tip of the sword. I don't want it to dissipate out, and I don't want it to like come back somehow. So I want the feeling like there's peanut butter here squishy, and I want to press it out the top. And in this case, both hands are doing it. So both hands are full of peanut butter somehow. I don't know how that happened, but there, and then there. So there's a feeling of the energy's coming out. There. And when you do this, like there. But I want the energy to go out, but I don't want this to happen. So I don't need to do that. It's all unnecessary. This, there. So just
Michael,
yeah.
Of course you mean Dutch peanut butter.
Absolutely, yeah. Like
not the American, right?
Not the American. No.
Okay, so I'm fine. Thank you.
Hand-picked nuts.
Is it going to be like smooth or is it crunchy?
It depends on your taste. I don't get into that debate. So smooth, crunchy is great. Depends what you.
If you do it right, it will become smooth.
It doesn't have to be peanut butter. It can be your own spread of choice. Maybe like Nutella or something. Peanut butter is great because it's got a good consistency. Yeah. That's it. Okay, good. That works better. Good rolling. Good. Good. There we go. And if you think about it, I mean, you can squeeze the peanut butter, whatever, you can squeeze it in all these kind of places. And as I squeeze it, I can also like add to it, try and add to it. But the better way would be just to like make the body solid and do this with it. So that all the energy can focus out. This is what the Japanese call like ishin, is like focusing the whole body on one point. Now in our case, that point is the center point linked to the sword, and out. So it's got this line. Now for us, that point is going to be along this line of the body. This. Now the moment I do something like that, I'm kind of breaking that line. So just get a sense that now as you do it, you've got this kind of feeling. So we'll come now to Hanmi. And what Hanmi does is really make the line clear. So you've got this triangular posture, but it makes the line very narrow as it comes forward. So it makes the line narrower as it tapers forward. That makes sense. So what I need to do is like squeeze everything towards that line. Squeeze is kind of not the right word, but focus is better. Focusing the body. And you're really like focusing it to a point. It's going to all come towards one point. Good. 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 That's it. There we go. Got it. Yeah. Okay, and again, really emphasize the hip work. So you can think about the peanut butter, the squeezing. That's just a nice kind of metaphor to get the hands to work together. But really get a sense now that what you're doing is something from the hip. So really notice again where the movement comes from. Really get the hips to kind of start to work. Block this sort of a little bit. So come here and really get a sense that the hip creates the movement and then it draws the body back. Really get a sense that something really initiated from the hip. Right from the center of the body. There. Now, of course, I need a clear connection to the ground for that to have any kind of power later. But just get the idea of the hips initiating. There's a mistake you can make in this. Watch this. This is doing it with the knees. So if I do like this, then I'm pushing with the knees, and I'm at the same time I'm doing something like this. Now this is not it. What I need to do is let the hip fall. So the hip's doing this. So it's this kind of motion, not that. That's really breaking the spine up in pieces. So just get a sense that what you can do is just allow the hips to drop into the space. That. I don't want the hips to split. I don't want to pull back. I just want them to hit the ground forward. That movement's going to come from something that, not that, something like that. Good. Yeah, that's it. See if you can fit. This is a bit hard to show on Zoom, but I try and make it. I try and exaggerate it. See if you can. There's a tendency again. If I go to the arms, it kind of leaves the center gets emptied out. So the center goes like ineffective, very empty. So it looks something like this. It's a powerful pulling back, but the front of the body goes like boom. It drains away. So if I do the cut with like this, the center just goes like boom. It wastes away totally. So then I stop training the center, and then anything I do with it, I'll just start building the arms up, which is fine, but I need a strong center. Ultimately, that's the kind of aim for all the training. So copy work really relies on the center being engaged through it. So see if you can draw a distinction between like this kind of work where the center is very inactive and the work where the center is primary. And I'm really engaging strongly through the center. So the core needs to be engaging all the time. The core of the body is doing all the work, and the hands are just following. This is the point of all these kind of exercises. But here it's really specific. Here it's very, very clear. The center's engaging all the time. So the center's never like taking a break. It can't take a break because the moment it does, the hands take over or the legs take over. The center needs to be totally, totally in control. That means it needs to be switched on, engaged all the time. Just feel it all the time. Center pressing, center. That's it. And if the center's doing all the heavy work, the arms can relax, the legs can release towards the ground, the head and the spine can lengthen, and then all the body can kind of come into order. But the moment I lose that center, boom, everything will kind of collapse around it, because your kind of structural integrity is built around the center. Yeah, that's it. There we go. Very good. Very good. Okay, great. So we'll just come into number 2. So it's taking all of this and just passing it into movement now. So you've got a backwards movement first, drawing up, and then you've got this forwards movement pressing in. There. Just play with it. Just take it nice and easy. Don't do too big a movement, too big steps. So just draw the body back, pressing forward, coming down, pressing into the ground. And then you've got this intermediate step when you come back into the 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒈, so just take your time with it. Rolling back, pressing forward, and then back. Again, really trying to anchor the movement in the center. Coming back. That's it. Okay, good. So there's two difficult moments. There's the step back and the step forward. So again, that needs to be initiated from the hip. So it's quite tricky because if all of this is out of structure, again, it's impossible to roll with the hip because I need to first start with the hands, draw them back to the body. Or if the feet, if I don't feel totally balanced, what I'll do is this. I'll do something like this. So I'll step the body forward because I'm already out of balance. So take the balance bit aside, but just see if we're going to go direct to the hip and just feel that you find the posture. And then the very first movement, the first millimeter of it is something in the hip. So the hip releases the movement. And then the hip releases, goes towards the hand, and it also goes to the foot. And at that movement, then I can step back. But just know that that's where the movement is going to start from, to be effective. To just see if you can get to it. And the main thing is just notice whether I start in the arms, whether I start in the feet. And the more I can draw back towards the center, the more I can anchor the sword in the body in a balanced way, and I can really start to get the hip activating the movement. Okay. Wait, hello. Good. And again, connection works great because it only needs to be a millimeter of movement. It doesn't need to be huge. So where I start with this is just that. All I want to do is feel that the sword's being affected by the hip. That's enough. Now I can spend all my time, 20, 30 years, pulling the sword up. It won't get me anywhere. It will just get me in more and more into that pattern. So get a sense that what I'm trying to do is hip, 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 and now I could go with it. Now that means a little bit like breaking the form down, or it means a lot breaking the form down. But just get a sense, if I can do it in a millimeter connection work, I can do it bigger. But I first need that first kind of step, the first millimeter of movement. And I need to feel that I've actually really got it. That's it. Yeah. Good. But the second point, it's the same point, but find it's much more harder now because I've got a really dynamic position. So I need, again, that movement to start from the hip. So something goes in the hip. So again, try and find this position and then feel like, yeah, I can move the hand, I can move the feet, but I can also just go from the hip. And just play with it, but just get that initiating from the hip, 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 hip. And because we're always working from the center, that's always the case. So it will never be starting in the hands or the feet. Even when you come back to position, hip first. So you're always kind of working that connection. There we go. Good. Good. Got it. Good. So in this case, you also want, if you go to like Ishin or like everything going towards one point, I don't want the energy at all to dissipate out the back or out the top. But in this case, I want the whole energy to penetrate the ground and forward. So just watch in this position. When you get here, just watch the moment I do something like this. This is the energy is like coming up and it's coming right to the back. Feel that the sword's already up. I don't need to lift anything up. So everything's just going to drop down to the ground. And at the same time as I initiate from the hip, I have a feeling of sinking, drawing forward. So I'm going to pass that movement. Everything drops down. And at the same time, I'm initiating the hip to press the body forward in the space. This way. Anything I do to pull the body out, up, back, pull the sword, it will dissipate the energy. So just get a sense that you can really fully focus everything down and forward. This way. Really get a sense of pressing something forward or passing something forward. Passing something forward is better. There we go. That's it. Very good. Yeah. Got it. Okay, last one. This is the most difficult, but it's the most simple. So all you're going to do now is just pass forward, find the cut. So it's just working Shomanuchi work. Again, it needs to be very clean, and it needs to be just one movement. So we've done like 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and then in this case, just one movement. Boom, pressing forward. And again, it needs to be all coming out from the hips, out from the center, and passing to the hands. So just one movement, which is boom, just passing everything forward. So super simple. But again, it's one of these like deceptively simple. That's very easy to do, very difficult to do well. This is the exercise that I like. Super tricky. So in order to get a movement like this where it's really effective, functional, I need to be like a ghost again. So I need the person not to see my attack. Now, in order for that to happen for me, it needs to be like a surprise for me too. Because I can't think about it. I can't go like, now I attack now. I attack now and then I do it. It needs to be like, whoa. I need to think like where it came. I don't know where it comes from, the attack. It needs to be on that level. So you've got to get in tune with your body where I feel like I get the here and then something just goes go. And I join the go. Something in the head, within the mind will go, join it. And that the more I can seamlessly match that go with the action, that's when I kind of shock the person with the attack. That's when I catch them out. So just get a sense that you set it up. Right? Just go with it. So you're trying to meet the kind of thought of the action with the action itself. It's the same thing. Yeah. Boom. Boom. This is what's known as the B of the bang. You know the B of the bang? You've got to go before the bang, before the gun. If you're a sprinter, you've got to go on the bang. Bang, go. You've already gone. This is where you get caught out as a sprinter because they say you're a cheat, but it's not true. Go. Again, you've got to be like an electric bike, not like a motor-powered car. So you've got to go like convert yourself into an electric-powered engine. You just go. Everything goes. No. So more electric, more instant. There we go, Bernie. Yeah, like that. Good. Yeah. Boom. There we go. You got it totally. Great. Okay, we'll stop there. Super duper. Hey, domo arigato. Good.